Hey cats, what's happening? I just replaced both of the gas caps on my 99 Fat Boy. It's not the original tank. That's a 5-gallon tank that's on there. And I was hoping that the stock gas caps would fit, and they did. I had to buy a pair of them, and I'll show you why. This is the original gas cap, which looks like it's in pretty decent shape, but the seal on there is all dry rotted and cracked. And then this is the main problem. They rattle. Not so much this one as much as this one. And it was very annoying when you're riding. Now, the other day, my son was on the Fat Boy and I was on the Ultra. And he was complaining about that gas cap rattling. And he said, no matter what I do, he said, that gas cap just driving me nuts. It just rattles and rattles. I said, yeah, I know. I said, I've been battling with that thing for a while. But, and I thought I could replace the little rubber seal on there. But in pulling this rubber seal off, it's kind of strange because it's actually two pieces. So I looked online thinking, well, I can replace this rubber gasket and then it would probably work, but you know, it has to be this special type of rubber that stands up against to the fuel or the gasoline. And if you don't get the right thing, it can deteriorate real quickly. Plus, there was no way I could find these replacements. It was either that or you had to get the whole gas cap. So I decided, well, it was like $30 for the pair of them. They were V-Twin Manufacturing. I got them from Dennis Kirk. And they said they were coming from Drag Specialties. So I don't know if they're probably an aftermarket, but they're identical to these old ones are absolutely identical to the new ones. I mean, you can't even hardly tell the difference. The new ones are a little shinier. These ones got a little scuff up over the years. But I won't have to listen to that rattle anymore either. I've been using Dennis Kirk for most of my motorcycle needs for whatever I might need. Replacement parts or upgrades, and they're really good. I mean, their inventory is really good. They always seem to have what I'm looking for, where some of the other sites like JP or whatever, sometimes they're limited and they don't have what I need. So the Dennis Kirk, and the other thing about them is they're really quick. I mean, as soon as you order the stuff, within an hour or so, it says, you know, your package is ready for shipment, and just that quick. And then I get it within a day or two. So I can't complain about that. So I've been using them a lot, and I've been pretty happy with them. I'm liking having two bikes. Now, I haven't abandoned the Fat Boy. You know, that's my girl right there. I spent many, many days on that saddle, but I really like the Ultra too. The new seat, I'll tell you, it's a little more slippery, and it doesn't. I wish it just had a little higher of a back butt rest there, because when you crack on the throttle on this thing, it'll really slide your butt back in the seat, and I need a little more support there to keep me from sliding back onto the taillight. I hope that would never happen. But it's nice having the two bikes, especially, you know, now that my son likes to ride. My son's ridden motorcycles most of his life. He hasn't had one in quite a few years. He had, I think the last bike he had was a Yamaha R6, a sport bike. That's a really fast bike, by the way. But he sold that, and then he's ridden this a couple times. But, you know, since I bought the Ultra, the Fat Boy had sat more often because I was always going off on the Ultra. But he said, "Hey, Dad, you mind if I ride with you with the Fat Boy?" And I said, "No, that would be great." So, the two of us took the bikes out. He took the Fat Boy, I took the Ultra, and for a guy that hadn't been riding in a while, he rode that thing like he owned it. I mean, he really stuck right up with me. Now, I didn't really crank on it. Otherwise, I would have left him in the dust with that Fat Boy. But he did real good at keeping up and didn't seem to have any problem at all. He held his line real well and took to the corners. Just seemed like he was a pro all along. I got to tell you, I was on my way, when we were on our way home, when we were on the last couple miles, and we were up here on the main state route, and there's a big long straightaway, and I was really going to crank it open and just leave him in the dust, just, like show off thing. But we came up behind a garbage truck, and the garbage truck was going maybe about 50 miles an hour, 55 maybe. And we couldn't really pass him. There was no clear passing. There was vehicles coming the other way, and then there was blind turns. So I never had a chance to open it up. When we pulled back in the garage here, my son says, "Did you know that there was a sheriff following us the whole way up the state route there?" I said, "There was?" He goes, "Yeah, because we were riding staggered. My son was a little ways behind me." He said, "Yeah, he was right on my tail the whole way." And I said, "Wow, it's a good thing that garbage truck was in front of us, because I was going to really crack on the throttle and push the speed up on this Ultra just for showing off, and I'm pretty sure I probably would have got a ticket at that point." So God was looking over me. Every time I go out on the bikes, I say a prayer, that Jesus would just watch over us, protect us, keep us safe from all the idiots out on the road, and let us ride with discretion and be careful and cautious out on the road. Give us the brains to, see all around us and to drive carefully. And I always come back home safely. So, I give the Lord the credit for watching over us quite frequently, because sometimes it seems uncanny how that works. But, that could have gone down bad for me. So, I'm thankful to have the two bikes anyways. I had to do some repair on my rototiller here. I wanted to turn the garden over before winter and till all the debris back in. I had ran over it with my tractor, my mower, and ground up all of the dead plants that were still there. But last year, this idler pulley here failed on me. And you can see it's in two pieces, and it's flat. It doesn't have the ridges on it like, this pulley up here. And what happens is when I engage it, it tightens up the belt, and the flat edge of the belt there rides on this idler pulley. Well, the pulley split in half. The welds in there broke that held the two pieces together. The bearing was perfectly fine inside there. The bearing was fine. So I don't know if you can see, there's the little screws or bolts. I drilled it out, bolted it back together, and then I used it for about an hour to till up my garden, and it worked perfectly again. So, yeah, and I looked online for that idler pulley, and I couldn't find it anywhere. I actually got the, you see there's the part, or the model number and everything down there. I entered all that information on numerous websites that offered parts for these, and none of them had the idler pulley. All of them said out of stock. So I wasn't sure how I was going to deal with that, because it's kind of an odd type of a pulley. But I was able to put it back together and it works perfectly now, so I saved myself probably 40 bucks, even if I would have been able to find one. So yeah, I got the garden all rototilled in, tilled all of the debris under, so it'll decay over the winter time. Probably dump some more garden lime on here too, because the plants seem to like that. So that job's done. Took me about an hour and wore me out, but I got her done. This is my pet garden spider that I have. About the only one that I found this year. I do have a couple other spiders. Charlotte made a web up there on the deck, and there's another one on the front deck. Bigger spiders, but I leave them. They're good. They get the mosquitoes and the bugs. I finally got the pile of wood moved up to the deck there. Now if you measure out 1 cord of wood, it's 8 foot long, 4 foot wide by 4 foot high. I have well over 1.5 cords here, so I got a really good deal on that. The guy that sells me the cordwood, he just fills his little dump truck up and he doesn't really measure it out. And he told me, he said, well, you might have a cord, give or take. If you need more, if I shorted you, just let me know. Well, he didn't come close to shorting me. He piled me up with wood by almost another half a cord. But he's a good friend and a good guy. And I sometimes I think he does that on purpose, because he likes me. I appreciate that. I don't divulge my sources either, and I'll tell you why. You know, I used to get my firewood from the Amish sawmill, and it took me maybe 20 minutes to drive over there. There's actually 2 mills that I used to go to, 2 sawmills, and the one that I went to, it was like 20 bucks, and I could fill the bed of my truck up heaping, like as much as I could carry on there that wouldn't fall off on the road. And that was not with ricking it up on the sides either, you know, just like they call loose stack. So I would do that, and then even when they raised the price to 30 bucks, I didn't mind at all. And sometimes the young Amish kid would help me load the wood on the truck, so I'd give him 5 bucks, you know, and he was happy with that. I mean, that was kind of a windfall for him. But they're just really kind, nice people. Well, I don't know what happened there with their business, but the mill, they really started running low on firewood. I'll tell you, one of the things that happened was, you know, word of mouth started getting around that you could get a load of firewood there for 20 bucks. So everybody and their brothers started showing up there. There was times there where I had to sit and wait for a spot to back my truck in and get loaded up. There was one kid that showed up there, and I knew the owner had told me that this kid started coming on a regular basis, and he'd bring a pickup truck with a trailer. And he would literally fill up both and give him like 25 bucks. And then he would take it back into Akron and sell it and probably make a couple $100 on that load of wood, if not more. So it didn't seem fair to the Amish that he was doing that. People like me were using it to heat our homes, not to make a profit on it. He was, you know, turning that wood over and making a big profit off of the Amish. But anyway, every time I went over there then, he said, boy, I don't even have enough wood for half of a truckload for you. It's going all the time. He said this kid's coming and taking loads out of here, and other people are taking loads out of here, and I can't cut it fast enough. Well, there was another Amish mill that's maybe about 40 minutes away, a little more of a drive, and I would drive all the way down there. And again, every time I went there, I'd have to wait in line for and they had a pretty good stock of wood there, of slab wood that was cut into cordwood lengths. But you had to back up to the pile to load up, and there was one guy that would come there with a truck and a large double axle trailer, and he would park sideways across the pile so no one else could access it and load up his truck and trailer. And it was real annoying, and so I made it a point one day to get there real early in the morning. And I arrived early in the morning, and I started loading up my truck. Well, here he came with his truck and his trailer, and he was not happy that I was in the way and that I was taking the wood. He almost like he had claimed that wood for himself, and although it was open to the public. And I don't know if he was reselling it or what he was doing, but he was getting his share of it, that's for sure. I tried talking to the guy, but he wasn't much for words. He kind of had an attitude. So anyway, it was getting harder and harder for me to get wood there too, because the thing is, word of mouth. You tell somebody when you go, hey man, I got a good deal on wood. There's a guy down there, and he's like, where that? Yeah. Well, next thing you know, you go there and there's no more wood because, that guy told that guy, and that guy told that guy, and that guy told that guy, and pretty soon it's gone. You lost your resource there because you couldn't keep your mouth shut. So yeah, you know what they say, loose lips sink ships. Anyway, like I said, I'm glad that I've got the two bikes here, and I told my son, I said, anytime you want to borrow my bike, you're more than free to. I offered to let him ride the Ultra, but he said, nah. He said, let me stay on the Fat Boy. He said, that Ultra, he said, I'm a little intimidated by it. But he said, I'm comfortable on the Fat Boy. I said, okay, that's fine. But I said, and he said, well, my wife kind of wants to go for a ride too. And I said, well, I do have a back seat for it I can put on there for you if you wanted to take her out for a ride. So, I don't know, we'll see. He's a busy man. He's got a tight schedule. He's got a lot going on. He's, with my grandkids. My grandson's in football. My granddaughter's in the marching band. And the other one is involved in something else. So they're just always, they're in 4-H. They've got chickens there. That's a busy people. So, yeah, he said, well, I'll let you know next time I'm free. We can take another ride together. So maybe next week. I don't know. We'll see. Well, anyways, that's all I got for today. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your time. And thanks for your support and your wonderful comments. If you haven't yet, hit the like button for me. Let me know that you liked the video. If you didn't like it, well, sorry. Go watch somebody else. Maybe they'll be more entertaining than me. I don't know. Go ahead and subscribe and continue to join me on this ride. Until next time, cats, I'll catch you all later.